For a billionaire facing a terminal diagnosis, the only way to survive was, ironically, to kill himself first. As the lethal injection entered his bloodstream, he was slid into a high-speed apparatus. The instant his vital signs vanished, the data comprising his consciousness was fully extracted and rapidly uploaded into a brand new vessel. Just like that, Mike, who was originally days away from death, opened his eyes again. Since a single consciousness cannot inhabit two bodies simultaneously, his old shell had to be discarded for good. Although the procedure came with a staggering $10 billion price tag, Mike found it well worth the cost. He hadn't just cheated death, he had instantly shaved 40 years off his life. Of course, the transition wasn't seamless. The hospital put him through a rigorous rehabilitation program to help his brain re-establish control over his new body. Meanwhile, Mike orchestrated the release of his own obituary online and quietly forged a completely new identity, paving the way for a carefree retirement. Upon his discharge, he moved into a villa he had purchased in advance. Looking at the high-end supercar parked in the driveway, he couldn't suppress his excitement. He was desperate to make up for the wild youth he had missed out on. By day, he worked up a sweat on the basketball court. By night, he brought beautiful women back home to party. For the first time, he truly felt the resilience of a young body that could handle anything he threw at it. But then, one day, scattered memories that never belonged to him invaded his mind without warning, accompanied by a blinding headache that was nearly unbearable. It was only then that he realized he had completely ignored the doctor's orders. The transplant came with significant side effects that required a strict regimen of red pills to suppress. Caught up in his hedonistic lifestyle, Mike had completely forgotten. He stumbled into the bathroom and frantically popped a pill, but a wave of vertigo threw him off balance, and he crashed to the floor. Suddenly, another vivid, unfamiliar image flashed through his mind. A pumpkin-shaped water tower and a mother and daughter he had never met. These bizarre memories left Mike baffled. Once he recovered enough to function, his curiosity got the better of him. He searched online for Pumpkin Water Tower and actually found a matching photo. Following the address listed, he decided to drive out there and investigate for himself. Guided by his GPS, Mike soon arrived. The towering structure before him was identical to the image in his head. He walked straight toward a small house at the base of the tower. When no one answered his knock, he hesitated for a moment before pushing the door open and letting himself in. The moment he stepped inside, he saw a photo of a strange woman. Clearly, this was her home. Next to it was a family portrait of 3, and the man in the picture looked exactly like Mike. Or rather, the man in the picture was the original owner of this body. Just as the shock set in, a gun was pressed against his back. The woman had returned. She thought she was being robbed, but when Mike turned to face her, Mary had an emotional breakdown, collapsing to the floor. She couldn't believe that her husband, missing for years, was standing alive in front of her. Mike was about to explain when he noticed strangers approaching the house. His instincts kicked in. He raised the gun and moved toward the door. As a thug reached for the handle, Mike aimed, but he wasn't alone. The team was coordinated. One caused a distraction at the front while another sneaked in through the back, subduing Mary. Distracted, Mike was disarmed and pinned to the table. Just as the situation spiraled out of control, a third man walked in. It was John. Shockingly, Mike knew him. They had played basketball together just days ago. Mike instantly realized this was no coincidence. John had befriended him on purpose to track him. Unexpectedly, John didn't kill him. Instead, he calmly told Mike he could still walk away. But Mike didn't run. He voiced the suspicion gnawing at him. The doctors had claimed the bodies were lab-grown genetic blanks, but the evidence in front of him proved that was a lie. The vessel was a real person, Mary's missing husband. Mike noticed the crew outside torching his car. Mary and the house were next. Seizing a moment of distraction, Mike counterattacked, taking down his captor with a speed and precision that shocked even him. It was as if a dormant instinct had been awakened, muscle memory from a life that wasn't his. Before he could catch his breath, the 2 men outside heard the commotion and closed in. Mike didn't hesitate. He grabbed the gun and dropped one of them. John ordered his wounded man to stand down, then signaled for them to burn the house down to cover their tracks. Seeing this, Mike roused the unconscious Mary and retreated to the living room. He noticed smoke seeping downward, quickly deducing there was a crawl space or basement ventilation below. He was right. As the thugs prepared to incinerate the house, Mike fired through a floor gap, hitting one in the leg. The man's flamethrower went wild, engulfing John in flames. Amid the chaos, Mike seized the opportunity to eliminate the remaining 2 enemies. When the dust settled, Mike just wanted to get out of there. But Mary blocked his path, sitting on the ground and begging him not to leave. It hit him then. Physically, he was her husband. Mary was overjoyed to have him back, and Mike, unable to explain the horrific truth in that moment, forced himself to get her and her daughter into the car. Living alone for 70 years and suddenly acquiring a wife and child was a jarring shift Mike couldn't adapt to. When Mary reached out to touch him, he panicked and found an excuse to step outside. He didn't sit idle, though. He looked up Dr. Jason, the founder of the shedding technology. He found a video of the late doctor and noticed a distinct tic. He constantly adjusted his glasses. That detail triggered a chilling realization. Paul, the doctor who performed Mike's surgery, had the exact same habit. Mike shuddered. Had Dr. Jason faked his death and transferred his consciousness into Paul's body? Discovering that the doctor still had a living wife, Mike drove 200 miles to the old family estate. He posed as a former student to gain the old woman's trust and waited. Sure enough, Paul showed up. The moment he walked in, Mike held him at gunpoint. His theory was spot on. The young man standing before him was actually the 80-year-old Dr. Jason. He had already secured a new body for his wife and was prepping for her transplant, never expecting Mike to survive and track him down. Mike forced the doctor to drive back to the lab to get him a supply of the red pills. However, they ran into the doctor's personal bodyguard. The bodyguard feigned a greeting to someone behind Mike, and in that split second of distraction, he disarmed Mike. The tables turned instantly. The hunter became the hunted. As Mike was being marched out of the mansion, Mary, who had followed them, arrived on the scene. Seeing her husband in danger, she frantically grabbed a gun and fired blindly, the bullet grazing the bodyguard's ear. In the confusion, Mike noticed a familiar necklace on the bodyguard's neck. It was the same one John had worn. John hadn't just died in the fire. The doctor had salvaged his consciousness and put him in a new body. There was no time to process it all. Mike jumped into the car with Mary and sped away. As they fled, he finally poured out the entire story. The truth about the body he was wearing, the doctor's secret, and the reality of the consciousness transfer. Finally, Mary understood the heartbreaking truth. The man beside her was not her husband.